Welcome back to Tuesday Tips for Leaders of Volunteers. This week, a Halloween special of scary stories and terrifying tales from the nonprofit world. All of these are true to a point, and they have tips with how to solve these terrifying problems. Tip number 1. You get a call from a parent of a teenager on a Friday afternoon. The teenager in question has waited all semester to do their 10 hours of required high school community service. It's due on Monday, and the child clearly has the parent over their shoulder yelling at them, chastising them for wasting everybody's time. What do you do with a child that has 48 hours to complete 10 hours of community service? If you have such designs for such occasions, good for you. You have a flexible and accessible volunteer variety of roles. But if not, steer them towards idealist or volunteer match, or even better yet, for this, the tip that I love best, that works in almost every situation, is having agreements with other community groups that can take on last-minute drop-in people with meaningful work, not busy work, but they're set up in such a way as to almost every weekend or almost always have something for someone to do 5 hours a day the next day. Maybe sometimes you're that agency or organization yourself, maybe not. But it's important to have those community connections to solve. You can also do a polite decline. But remember, every interaction with a volunteer is an invitation to stay or go. It's also not your problem to solve. Sometimes children, especially teens, need to learn their lessons the hard way. But if we can be accommodating, we should. That's just good community engagement and customer service. Terrifying tale in tip number 2. A major donor and a board member are pressuring you to have their 10-year-old grandchild volunteer with the organization. The only problem is that the minimum age requirement is 14. What to do? Tick tock, tick tock. The heart beats faster with the stress of the situation. What shall you do? If you have a policy that's very clear and written down, and ideally a communication plan with the board, and a code of conduct for the board so they know the proper avenues to go through, not just approach you and skip some steps, but say, what can we do to accommodate it? Can we make an exception? Well, exceptions are rather costly, aren't they? That's what your legal team would say anyway. No, you should make it clear to the board member that in all fairness and equity and access, the rules apply to everyone. But much like in the first tip in these Tuesday tips, you have enough community connections with another organization, or you send them to Idealist, which is merged with Volunteer Match, to look for roles for 10-year-olds or people with families who want to volunteer all together, if you cannot accommodate that. If you can accommodate, well, you're ahead of the game, aren't you? You're doing wonderful work, having many different kinds of volunteer roles. And the third and perhaps most terrifying tale for these Halloween spooky season Tuesday tips. Story number 3 of lawsuits and layoffs and volunteers lost in limbo. A city created a nonprofit to help it. It had a friends of a sort. But this city considered them only fair weather friends. And after certain greedy political forces within the city decided that perhaps this nonprofit shouldn't be running the education and the volunteer programs for this agency anymore. Perhaps they should get some contracts for their friends in the private industry to take over some of these tasks, or even worse and more terrifying, AI, which is really invented to steal wages and eliminate jobs, not just save you time. But I have a whole other Tuesday tip about that, and I'll have some webinars and workshops coming up as well. But my point is that, however, you are to be replaced in a more profit-making venture with the city selling you out. Sometimes that's beyond your control. But what you can do is advocate and talk about it. And hopefully not have toxic culture between agencies or partner agencies or a city and a nonprofit that supports it. Hopefully you can communicate earlier and more often and more clearly and more fairly and more consistently, and educate up to have board members, politicians, advocates, community members, partner organizations, and your own leadership especially understand the value of volunteers and the value of you leading volunteers. That is priceless. Vincent Priceless. I hope you have a wonderful week of Halloween, of Samhain, and Dia de los Muertos. However you celebrate, the veil is thin. Be wary, be kind, and most of all, like and subscribe and share this video with your friends. Thank you very much.